Hello and welcome. My name is Giles Cummings. I'm the founder and CEO of Future Net World, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to today's webinar. The session today is titled Unlocking Autonomous Networks, the Power of Knowledge-Driven AI to Deliver Level 4. And we've got a fantastic panel of experts who've agreed to share their thoughts and insights on this topic. I'd like to thank Vitria Technology for sponsoring the webinar today, and I'm delighted that Dale Skeen, who is founder and CTO at Vitria, is with us. The format is a little different today, so we've extended the session to 60 minutes, and we'll have the 45-minute panel discussion as usual, and then Dale will give a short presentation at the end on knowledge-driven agentic AI, which will focus on a really interesting use case. So I recommend you stick around for that. And if that isn't enough, all of today's attendees will receive a copy of an executive briefing titled Supporting the Telecom Agentic Journey. This is hot off the press and it's written by Charlotte Patrick, who is moderating today. So, a quick reminder that you're in listen only mode, but as usual, we want to make this session interactive. So, do please post your questions and we'll get to as many of these as we can. Now, it gives me great pleasure to introduce and welcome Charlotte. Charlotte, who, as I mentioned, is moderating today's session. A very warm welcome to you, Charlotte. And I'll leave you to introduce yourself properly along with your fellow panelists. So, have a great discussion, guys.
Thank you, Giles. Great to be here. My name is Charlotte Patrick. I'm an independent analyst and I cover analytics and AI and have done so for really quite a long time now. So it's beginning to get exciting, I think. And I would just like to ask each of the panelists to go through and introduce themselves. Jose Maria, you're top of my screen. Can I ask you to go first, please?
Hello, everybody. Thanks, Charlotte and FutureNet for inviting me. Today, I am José María Ramón. I work at Telefónica Corporation within the global technology team. I have been involved in many technological projects for over 25 years, most of them in telecom sector. For the past year, I have been driving the adoption of automation across Telefónica operation, and nowadays focusing also in the strategy and the things that we have to do in the future.
Thank you. Asen, please.
Yes, thank you. So first of all, thank you, FutureNet for inviting me to this webinar. So Asen Golobsa, I sit within the Liberty Global Group of companies. In Europe, we are leading fixed and mobile telecommunication provider with operators in UK, in Belgium, in Netherlands, and lately we had operation in Switzerland also. So primarily my role within Liberty Global has been looking at mobile access strategy, so the radio access network. But lately I've been drawn into understanding what does it mean to be at level 4 in terms of autonomous networking and how we can help our operating companies on their journey to level 4. Hence, I think the relevance of me attending this panel today. Thank you.
Thank you. And Afnan.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thanks to FutureNet. Pleasure to be here. My name is Afnan Ahmed. I work for Telnor Group, and Telnor is a Nordic-based operator with operations in the 4 Nordic countries: Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and Finland, as well as operations in Asia in some countries. I head the network strategy and architecture function in Telnor Group. Which is a fascinating area these days with all the changes. And one of the key pillars of our technology strategy, especially related to networks, is adoption of open and autonomous networks. So that's what motivated me to attend today's session. I'm also part of TM Forum's autonomous network project. I sit in the leadership team, which is sort of a steerco. So was actually in Telefonica headquarters yesterday. So we are collaborating very well. Yes.
Oh, excellent. Oh, thank you guys very much. So the title of this webinar is about knowledge-driven AI. And I just thought it'd be really helpful for me to frame our session with a few of the highlights from my research, because kind of knowledge-driven AI, it's an interesting topic. So I every time I approach the topic of agentic systems and AI, I feel like I'm falling down a rabbit hole, a bit like Alice in Wonderland, if everybody knows the English book. And I always find that there's just one more question that I don't know the answer to when I'm looking at this. And I think there's a variety of reasons for this. The key top level questions are, why are we doing this? And is there going to be return on investment? And once you ask this, you kind of get to the next level of questions, which are, what projects are best in the early days? Then what processes need more complex agentic systems, which are going to be more expensive and more difficult? And in all of this journey, how can we avoid technical debt and failed projects? So when looking at the answers to these, the immaturity of much of the multiple new technologies that we're going to need to create this to create all of this is, we get into questions such as, if we deploy this technology here, then this will generate potential problems here and here. And when agentic systems get more complex, there are academic solutions to these group of problems, but do they work? And so you just get this kind of rolling number of questions. And we are tackling today what I think is one of the most interesting and important problems, which is and it comes out of the cascade of questions that I have, which sit in the rabbit hole labeled, how do you deploy the power of large models without creating problems like hallucinations when agents go live in the production network? So a really important rabbit hole if you want to go towards autonomy and more dynamic workflows where agents are making decisions in real time. And a significant part of the solution is for the telco to build a solid platform of knowledge assets, which you can use to ground the models with facts. And we call this today knowledge-driven AI. And so to kick off our discussion, my first question will be to Dale, to take us through this concept of knowledge-driven AI, because Dale, I know you are knee-deep in building these types of solutions. So can I ask you just to give us some definitional stuff here?
Absolutely. So we focus on building a knowledge-based AI ops platform. So we've been working in knowledge for several years now. And by knowledge, what we mean is structured knowledge that is human and machine readable and hence shareable between humans and AIs. The knowledge needs to be based on some standard. RDF is a standard of choice. It's an internet standard, well accepted. And for human consumption, we often represent it as a knowledge graph. So you'll probably refer to knowledge graphs and knowledge. Both. And in this conversation, they mean the same thing. Okay. Now, with knowledge or knowledge graph, we need to cover all aspects of the telco domain. For example, dependencies between layers in the network topologies, for example, or learn and inferred dependencies among network components and system components, such as failure patterns between components. That's so we can predict failures and perhaps avoid outages. We need to know diagnostic knowledge about the key symptoms and likely fixes, and contextual knowledge about the physical facilities that a router or radio access network component may be in, or the great geographic locations, the environmental and weather conditions regarding that. Okay. Now, why is this important? Well, when you add structured knowledge to AI, the AI agents just get smarter. Specifically, the AI agents can reason better because they can use a knowledge graph for reasoning. The AI agents hence produce more accurate results with fewer hallucinations. And the AI recommendations are explainable in terms of a knowledge graph and hence verifiable by another AI or by a human. So that's why, there's a specific interest in knowledge.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I asked you if you'd show one of your examples of how this works towards the end. So I'm looking forward to kind of seeing that, because I think it's really interesting to kind of get your head around what's happening, but to see it live. So please, for everybody who is listening today, could I ask you to put your questions in the panel, and I will be going through as many as I can as we go through. So do get them up there. And I'm now going to turn to my panel, please. And I'm going to ask my first question to the first person at the top of my list, which is Jose Maria, who is on mute, but hopefully he'll be off mute in a second. And I wanted to start by asking each of you in turn about where you are in your journey towards autonomy. What type of AI and ML have you deployed, or do you plan to deploy in the near future? And in what domains and processes?
Well, at Telefónica, in our journey towards autonomy, is both ambitious on one hand and very pragmatic. While we continue to benefit from traditional automation techniques, we are evaluating each use cases to ensure it deliver real value. So, and on the other hand, we are deploying a wide range of AI techniques, from machine learning to intelligent agents, digital twins, and across all domains. So I think that later we will be focused on what are the domains where we have more level of autonomy. Focusing on what we are doing in machine learning, I would say that currently the most mature technique is this, and we are applying it, helping us significantly in all areas related to those that use numbers and probabilities. So, for example, for early fault detection, degradation, prediction, root cause analysis, capacity planning, demand forecasting, and all this stuff. No, we are leveraging ML to improve energy efficiency, also aligning consumption with real traffic demand. So we firmly believe in the transformative power of this autonomous network. So that's why we launched this autonomous network program. That is the program that is leading us to the next level of automation.
Thank you. Asen, please.
Yes, I mean, from our perspective, I mean, there are two aspects. There's automation and then autonomy, right? So in terms of automation, I think we have been doing this for ages now, right? So we have the rule-based algorithms. Even the machine learning has been embedded in many of our processes around fault management and run optimization. So, you know, we talk about SON in the run, self-optimized network in the run. So that has been going on for a while now. So it's not new. But when it comes to autonomy, that is something different where, from our perspective, when we started our journey thinking about that is we thought about, okay, so to do autonomy, you need data readiness, right? So our first step was about understanding what is a sort of data maturity of our OpCos in implementing AI for autonomy. And from that perspective, I would say probably all our operators already have a clear view of what kind of data architecture they need to have in place. You know, that is sort of fuel the AI automation or AI autonomy, let's say, that will come out eventually out of it. And yeah, and some of them, for example, one of the key things is about centralization of data into cloud. So some operators already have 100% of their data already in cloud as a starting point. But beyond that, what the ongoing focus is in our operators is, okay, so you have the data architecture, but you also need to put the data governance in place. You need to put the skill set in place. So that is ongoing activity that is happening in our operators currently, where they are looking at all these different aspects of what we call a data maturity framework to enable AI for autonomy, right? For network autonomy. Then there is, you know, the aspect of, let's say, knowledge-driven AI, which is a topic of this talk today. And here, what I would say is some of our operators are trialing things, or they are doing minimum viable products on specific processors or sub-processors within domains. And this is effectively where we are in our journey for autonomy. For example, if I take one of our operators in Belgium, Telenet, they've implemented an MVP on service impact assessment, but they are also, they've done other, you know, like processes like root cause, or working on other processes like root cause analysis, value-based planning, and one interesting one is fiber to the home VLAN orchestration, which they are doing end-to-end already. So this is effectively where we are on our journey currently, yeah, for automation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Afnan, please.
Yeah, thank you. I think my answer is not very different to the colleagues from Telefonica and Liberty Global. Although we think we are very different, all operators are essentially on the same challenge and same path. What I would just like to say, or just reconfirm, is that, of course, we have also been on our automation journey, but something that autonomy is, and even if you use the TM Forum's maturity model, automation is a different scale. And autonomy, if you want to achieve 3 or higher, then there's something about AI and data-driven AI which needs to be in place. Otherwise, you just can't reach there. We have a very At Telnor, we have a very value-based approach, because the first question to ask is not why AI, but what is the problem that the AI is going to solve. And of course, our problems are related to complexity in our networks. We have not been able to shut down 2G. I'm not sure about others, but we are still running 2G, 4G, 5G, fixed networks. That complexity is just not sustainable going forward if you have to deliver the services that we have to deliver. So then to tackle that, then you think about, you said agents. That's a very interesting word to use, and the industry uses it too. That's basically software algorithms which are trained to do certain jobs. So we are evaluating, we are implementing, we are also doing the same, like Austin said, some POCs. The focus area for us is actually assurance. And TM Forum ran a survey with their members. I think 20 largest CSPs took part. That's where the concept of high value scenarios was born, because then it becomes easy to focus on something when everyone is focusing on 1 or 2 or 4 use cases, rather than everybody has their own. So I think the focus for everyone from east to west is assurance. That's where most capex goes. If I say RAN assurance or RAN fault management, that's where the most opex or capex goes for any operator, any mobile operator. So that's also something for us. And if you're in the RAN domain, then again, energy efficiency in the RAN, that moves the needle, even with 2% or 3%. So those are our focus areas. That's where we are. Then of course, as we go into discussion, I can discuss more, but that's it for now.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. And given I have a TM Forum Autonomous Network representative leader on the call, I wanted to ask about where people felt that they, or where people knew that they were in terms of the maturity model. So in what domains and processes are you furthest forward, and what levels have you achieved in those processes? I don't know who'd like to go first, but please do kick us off, somebody.
Yeah, I can go first if it's okay. So I think if I say that as an industry, the domains where we have come a bit further than others is IP and transport in general in the industry. They are a bit further than for example, the RAN or the access part. Then having said that, I think a TM Forum survey from last year shows that 88% of the CSPs are between level 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Of course, there are outliers, but that's where the bulk of the operators are. Then I would also like to make a tabloid statement that unless you have done your assessment, you might think you are wherever you are. You probably are not there. If you do an assessment, an honest self-assessment, you'd be surprised that even some of the very automated areas are not where you think you are, because this assessment is based on sub scenarios, and when you do 2, 3, 4, 5 sub scenarios, then you actually start to understand that yes, if it's a hardware fault, then everything is very good, but if it's an interference issue, I'm still on RAN assurance, then actually it's not very automated or autonomous. Then I need to talk to 3 people, look into 2 Excel sheets, talk and 2 systems before I can even launch a ticket. So that's where the industry is. We are not very different to the rest of the industry. We are in some certain scenarios we are higher. That I think, without even knowing where everyone else is, I think that is true for everyone. When everyone says that they're level 4, that is for a certain sub scenario, a high value scenario, as you say. Nobody in the world have I come across who can claim that they are level 4 on a certain domain already. Everything.
No.
So it's the domains that are a bit ahead are IP and transport. The domains which are a pain point for everyone are more access related or service assurance related. And we have done our assessments. I'm not at liberty to say where we are in which country, but like I said, we are not very different to the rest of the industry. We are, we are not 4. So yeah.
No, it's interesting. I've been in and done an assessment as part of an external body, and it was a very interesting exercise. And people, there's a lot of lack of knowledge of what it needs. You need to push forward and stuff, and it's very and doing that really helps. So hopefully, yes, I can agree with your saying. But please now, Asan or Jose Maria, please do come in and
Yes.
add to the conversation.
Okay, I can go next. So, yes, effectively, I think if you ask me, as an operator, which level, our LG or LG operators are, it's probably, it's not a question that we can directly answer because, as my colleague just said, like each operator have different priorities in terms of which processes they see as having the most business value for them, right? So as the blueprint from TM Forum itself calls out, it says, okay, right, if you want to evolve to level 4, your first step is probably to identify those high value scenarios. So what is a set of scenarios that actually will give you the best or the most valuable business outcome? And I think from that perspective, our operators are already aware of which scenarios they need to tackle first to achieve level 4 automation. But the issue is, it's not an issue, but it's just a bit of a journey that, okay, we know where we want to be, but then you cannot tackle everything in one go, right? Because you need the capabilities, you need the foundations in place. So our operators are building the foundations, but at the same time, they are trying to say, okay, we can't just build the foundations forever. We also need to look at some of the processes which can bring us immediate benefits, right? So it's about picking 1, 2, 3 processes which we know, okay, we've got a bit of the foundation in place. With that bit of foundation in place, we can already deliver on certain processes or even sub-processes, I would say. And from our perspective, probably the example I'm going to give again here is from our operator Telenet, who have done a lot of MVPs and good work on some processes. So even sub processes. So for example, in Telenet, we did a automation of the service impact assessment sub process that sits within the change management process. So that is done cross-domain. Yeah, so you have the cross-domain element of it, which is a requirement for level 4, but it is not end-to-end for the change management process. So we cannot claim already that, oh, we are at level 4 in change management, because there are different aspects of the change management process which have yet to be automated. But it's a start, right? So it starts. So we have done an MVP on service impact assessment, and now the operator is looking at, okay, what other sub-processors within the change management chain, let's say, you can automate, and then you need to bring it all together. So that's one example where you could say, okay, we are quite advanced in achieving, well, in the journey to level 4. Then we have another example where, again, in Telenet, where they've done a process for VLAN service orchestration effectively. So that one, as Afnan said, like typically in the IP transport network, operators are typically ahead in terms of putting automation in place. And this is an example where in Telenet, they have done an end-to-end automation of the process for VLAN orchestration, they call it. And that they even introduce a self-healing capability for like addressing issues with that, okay, whenever they identify the issue. And that is probably the closest that we have currently to level 4. And beyond that, what the operator is looking at is in terms of fault management. For example, we're looking at root cause analysis, but we are not looking at fault management end to end already. We are looking at fault management, the root cause analysis part of fault management. And even then, we are starting with the core network domain. But we know that fault management, if you want to achieve a level 4 type capability, you need to look at fault management, root cause analysis even, across multiple domains, because then eventually what you need to do is to introduce the autonomy at a service level, where from a service level perspective, you can sort of look cross domains and eventually introduce closed loop control, which will then make you level 4. So we are on that journey, but we are starting in a piecemeal approach. Yeah. So I think these are a couple of examples I would give. Thank you.
Okay, I agree with my two colleagues. I think at Telefonica we are also collaborating very deep with the TM Forum, and I think this autonomy level is a success for all the industry that allow us to benchmark and learn together from each other. So this is a very good thing. I think we are more advanced also in all the things related with assurance as well, all the operation in general. Maybe we have some advance also in planning in the RAN. For example, we are having some use cases that are providing a good level of autonomy. But in any way, I think Afnan said very well. So there is a list of scenarios that provide more value than other, or are the balance between the costs and the benefits are the more appropriate to start with. And for us, this is the focus for this year, to reach level 4 in a certain scenarios. It doesn't have to be a complete process or a complete domain. No? It's the worst scenario has to be the process. So this is important. But we have an objective is to reach level 4 in 2030. That is, across the industry, we all know that is difficult. And we have also to give the message that maybe it doesn't worth to have level 4 in every operation that we do, because sometimes we have a very mature process that is working very well, and it's very cheap, and there is no problem that it has a manual activity, for example. So we are not have to go crazy implementing artificial intelligence if it costs a lot. So we have to trade off, and I think this collaboration in the industry and the thing that we talk together, the operator, the vendor, it's very good for everybody to prioritize and to have more knowledge of what are the points that can be better.
Lovely, thank you. And please, can I ask all of the people listening in? We have no questions and answers questions to answer as yet, so please do get them into the Q&A. That would be great to answer those. And so I'm going to move on and say, if we're looking at a bit of a chasm between level 3 and 4, it's going to require all sorts of new capabilities. What are the key benefits are you expecting to realize from level 4?
Yeah, if I just take it first, first of all, ties very well back to what I said, that we have to have a value-based approach. So I fully agree with what Jose said. We also don't want to have level 4 everywhere just for the sake of it. It needs to make sense, business sense. And I think there are 3 or 4 dimensions on which we think we can have the value of level 4 solutions. Like all operators, we are in a crunch, so efficiency will be high on the agenda. So assurance, for example, is how we can reduce our OPEX or correct faults or have less faults. That is an efficiency indicator. We will have more efficiency indicators, energy efficiency is an efficiency indicator, and so on. But if autonomous networks is all about efficiency, I think that is not the right thing to do. I think we will struggle to get traction on it in our boards and CFO communities when we go and ask for money for it. So a couple of other dimensions. I think there is something with customer experience which needs to come in. If you have a network which is less faulty, which is self-optimizing, which is self-healing, what does it do to the customer experience? We need to be able to, whatever we do, whatever we implement, we need to be able to say, what will it mean for the customer experience? So that's one dimension. People measure customer experience in different ways. I don't preach what is right, but NPS is one, for example, one one method to look at it. Then I think another dimension which is very important is how can we increase the adoption of our services, which is increase somehow the revenue of existing services. If you have an autonomous network, if everything is working so smoothly, if it is self-optimizing, if I can actually predict how the network behavior is going to be, will it not increase the demand for the services that I offer? So something for the top line. And then last but not the least, the fourth dimension I would like to mention is how can we actually generate new revenue streams, new products, and new services, which I don't have today. But just due to the capabilities of autonomous networks, what can I do more? An example to that effect could be, for example, something around slicing or differentiated connectivity. If a small medium enterprise can churn out a slice, it doesn't take days or weeks, it takes minutes. They get what they want. It could be latency, it could be uplink, it could be whatever they want it. But a slice to suit an SME or a medium enterprise. I've seen examples. I'm not sure if it will be possible in Europe, considering we are all operating in Europe, but due to net neutrality and so on. But I've seen that in Asia, people are talking about also having differentiated connectivity at B2C level. So I am a gamer. I am playing a game. I am willing to invest $1 more so that I can have better latency. Or I am watching a 4K movie. I want to finish it. Or it could be anything. But that what I'm trying to say is whether you can launch it in Europe or not is another thing. But we need to look at the possibility of new services, growth in existing services, something around customer experience, and of course efficiency. If our story is just built around efficiency, I think we will struggle to invest and succeed as we go into the boardrooms and investment committees and so on.
Look, can I jump in? Is that we've got a couple of good questions here, so I'm going to change topics slightly. And the first question is, what about telco-specific large models being developed or being trained on telco data? What are your needs going to be around LLMs?
I can start again. It's not that I want to, but just I was unmuted, so maybe yeah. We've seen some telco specific LLMs, to be honest, and we are in a process of testing. So I'm not going to name any vendor and so on. Some are I think some show promise. Some of the big ones don't show promise. They are as good as plain vanilla LLMs. And when you say telco specific LLM, then I'm thinking SLM and not LLM. But I think a small language model. But I think everyone understands that. But yeah, there are telco specific LLMs being developed, and they are trained on some data, and then of course they need to be fine tuned to your own data before you get them into production.
Yeah. What I think what is clear is that the large language model, if they are not specialized in something, are very complex to manage. They don't provide the proper information. And yes, there is a trend in the market of having our own LLM. So, for example, in the GSMA, there is a track that they are working on this. And all of these things that we are talking about regarding the knowledge, the data, are coming to solve this problem that the LLM has. So if you're able to provide to the LLM the proper information that are more related with the sector or with the activity that you perform, this LLM will have a better performance and will be more useful. But having the common or the normal typical LLM, it's very complex. It has a lot of hallucination. It's very hard to populate with the proper data. So yes, I don't know if we are going to a concrete LLM, but the solution is not that we use the common one.
Yeah, I would probably take a step back and think about, okay, we all talk about LLM because of the generative AI, that's sort of everybody's using ChatGPT and so on and so forth. So, but as operators, our ecosystem, do we really, LLM does not fit everywhere, I believe, right? It's not like you need LLM everywhere. There are certain scenarios or use cases where you can lean on LLMs, but even then, as as we just discussed, it needs to be tailored to the telco use cases and environment. So you need an adaptation of that LLM. But what I believe is there are also many other use cases within the telco domain. And this is the topic of the talk today. We talk about knowledge-driven AI. Knowledge-driven AI doesn't mean it's always built on LLM, right? And maybe Dale can probably comment a bit later on that. It's about how do you translate the knowledge that we as operators and our vendors, we have been building over the years operating our networks into some kind of structured format that can then be applied using, with the AI and the data that we are collecting from our network to automate the processes. And I think it's not always that LLM will fit into the need for LLM will come in. In some cases, yes. In many other cases, it's the knowledge-driven AI does not probably need, like this kind of generic LLM that we are seeing out in the market, right?
This is a complicated question.
Yeah.
May I turn us to talk a bit more about knowledge driven, or else we'll have everybody on the line for a couple of hours, honestly. And I'd like to ask about this new need for knowledge driven AI. Have you guys begun to plan out what you require? And Dale, I'd also like to know what you see telcos doing. So can I throw that at you guys, please?
I'm happy to start. First of all, Son, I agree with your comment that you don't use knowledge just for LLMs. In fact, knowledge, and we'll talk through this in an example a little bit later, can be applied to a lot of just plain old AI algorithms or just graph algorithms as well. I think some of you are building out digital twins. If you build out also a knowledge twin of that, you can do a lot of reasoning over that without using an LLM. And it's cheaper and it's more focused and it's more trustworthy doing that. Okay. And in fact, when we see people getting started using knowledge, usually they don't necessarily tackle even automation to begin with. Okay. One thing that they do is that they use knowledge to categorize and describe the data they have in place, the data that the AIs need. And the reason for that is simply to enable things like focusing on the human operator so that they can do natural language queries, or the AI can summarize. Now, this is using LLMs, but it's also to focus on looking at gaps in the data as well and trying to supplement that with multiple data sets that the knowledge graph can do and pull that together very easily. Okay. And then finally, to make, I think, significant gains in accuracy, whether using LLM or using plain old AI, you can develop a suite of knowledge mining tools, which can go beyond the data that you have that you're storing in your repository. And these tools can discover, for example, undocumented dependencies between network components, and these can then become part of the knowledge graph. They can show dynamic relationships between virtual components, which are highly dynamic. And this goes to the heart of root cause analysis to be able to tease those things out.
Thank you. Guys, can I ask you about your plans, please?
No, I just wanted to add that Dale is totally right. And the thing that is happening now with the data is that we are having now multiple layers of knowledge, starting with the raw data. Then we have more elaborate data. Then we have metrics. Then we have topologies. Then we have the relationship between the element. Then we start to add more information about them. Then we are adding the context, for example. We are adding some semantic things. So in the end, all this picture started to be more complex, but at the same time, more all the information is in the same place, and it will allow to any machine to make the proper decision. In the end, when you have all of these things in place. I think we are a little far of having this model, but I think it's a good model because, as you were saying, it's not only for one technology, so it's useful for every technique, AI or not AI, to have this information there.
So if I may go next, I mean, from our perspective, I mean, the planning we have revolves around three themes, right? So the first theme is around data readiness, which I've already talked about. So it's having the right framework in place so that you are centralizing your data, you are curing your data, you have AI-ready data sets. So that's one element of it. Then there's another element, which is effectively the topic of what we are talking about is, okay, we want knowledge-driven AI. So how do you capture the knowledge that you need to make the AI give you the right outcome, right? Because without the structure around, okay, how the AI is using the data, think of it this way, right? It's like when an operation engineer is working, they use their years of experience, they follow a set of logic in their mind when they are trying to be doing assessing certain fault root cause analysis or doing some change management, service impact assessment. They are following some rules and logic. So how do you abstract this knowledge and put it into a form that the AI can use when they are also exposed to the data, right? So that is the second dimension from our perspective, is how do you capture, and for that, like, we have the knowledge, but typically what we're seeing is, okay, and that's possibly the case for many operators, not only us, is we typically do not have the skill set that is required to translate our knowledge into, into the logic that the AI can use. And this is where we are constantly looking at seeking the right partnership, with the people, the ecosystem in AI, who are sort of turning out best in breed capabilities around these things to say, okay, how do we capture that operator knowledge so that the AI can do better things for us? So that's the second dimension. And then there's the third dimension, which is the digital twin aspect, which is, okay, how do you get a representation of your network that the AI can understand? And we talk about the knowledge graphs and things like that. And for that, we, in one of our operators like Telenet, I keep talking about Telenet, but they've done quite some good things there, is they've already on that journey where it's not everywhere, but within specific domains, they've already created knowledge graph, digital twins, which they are then exploiting to deliver automation for specific processes. And it's a starting point, but they're going to continue evolving and developing digital twins in other domains. So effectively, those three dimensions need to be tackled, right, in the plan. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it has all the good things have already been covered. I'll just confirm that we are in the same. What you said, Alsen, is matching what I also said. It's IP and transport; those domains are a bit ahead. You just confirmed that the digital twins for some areas are also ready or being tested there for some scenarios compared to others. Data is, of course, data readiness is something which we struggle as an industry. Now I'm taking a higher level view, and we need to be better at it. That's why I'm also very interested in the demo that Dale is going to show in the end. But managing data overall, correlating data from different domains, like Austin was explaining, there is a resource level, there is a service level. On top of it, there's a business level. All of these domains need to correlate. Services need to correlate. The data in the RAN needs to correlate with the data in the other domains, and so on. That if we are not able to create that knowledge graph, again, these are terms that I love these terms. We are good at creating terms. I just say we just need to manage data in a better way, correlate it in a better way, And then, of course, then if you have data which is good enough, then you can train your AI models and everything on top of it. And I also agree with what was said in the beginning. You don't need AI models and LLMs for everything. There are things, of course, you need modeling. Don't get me wrong. You don't need LLMs for everything. You don't need to start thinking about GPUs before you can do anything. So there are lots of things which can be done without it as well. But I think I agree with whatever was said, so I won't repeat it.
No, excellent. And I've got about 4 minutes to fill, so this is a bit of a quick fire round, really. And can I ask you, in terms of knowledge-driven AI, creating new knowledge assets, what are you piloting, and what have you deployed already? What have you got planned to deploy? Would you have just a few examples for us?
Yes. For us, we've done service impact assessment, but as I said, it's just a sub-process in a change management, a longer change management process. And we are looking at root cause analysis within the core network domain. So these are the kind of use cases we're tackling at the moment.
Yeah, I can mention that what we have piloted is something around energy efficiency, which is of course you can get energy efficiency models from your RAN vendors. You can get very good features from the likes of Huawei, Ericsson, whoever you're using, Nokia. But you can also get but on top of it, we have also written our own model for energy efficiency, which gives even better results on top of what whoever vendor it is, without going into that. So energy efficiency is something, and we're also piloting something which is hopefully going to successfully model an AI agent, like I said, a software algorithm for a NOC engineer, first line NOC engineer. So how can we do that? Then of course we have lots of, in the IP transport, we have some, not pilot but production use cases of different types of faults which are self-healing, and faults are being solved automatically. So yeah.
And we are now piloting a very pretty or very good use cases, and in the fault management in the RAN and transport domain, we are storing all the network topologies and receiving the performance metric in a structured format, and we enable AI to interpret all the complex relationship between this network element, and we have enhanced the LLM with a RAG database, and then we can analyze this metric, identify pattern, and recommend action to maintain the expected service level. No? And then we want to introduce some agents that help technicians to query, verify, and act over the network. And we are trying to do it using natural language. So this is I think it's a very good project, but nowadays it's not on production. I'm going to be honest, but it's very close to be.
Yes,
This is the kind of things that we want to do.
Thank you guys very much. That's great. Dale, please. I hear that you are chief in charge of your slides, so I will just set you up to show some slides on the screen, and then I'm basically going to turn it over to you to give us a view from the trenches about the work you're doing with customers. So, oh, good. The audio visual's working. That's great. Please, Dale, over to you.
Okay, so excellent. Thank you, Charlotte. I want to take a very simple example to show how knowledge works. In this particular case, I'll go through a use case, a simplified one, just to illustrate the concepts. Misdiagnosing router failures on a 5G mobile network. Now we're focusing on the backhaul network and the cell side routers, not the radio access network so much. But what we want to do is see how knowledge can help triaging this. So the first thing we can do is we can show a situational knowledge graph. This is simply a knowledge graph of all the cell sites in a particular region that we picked. Okay, and it's the health status of that. And you can see that it's a mixture of cell site routers and aggregation routers, and you can see there's several routers that are impaired. The red ones on the diagram, the green, of course, are healthy. So then with this, you can take a look at this, but you don't know what's wrong here. Am I looking at 3 different issues or 1 issue? Do I need to go and repair 3 routers or 1? So the next step is to layer in some knowledge, and that would be the known dependencies. These are dependencies that you have cataloged as part of your data assets, that's in your network inventory database or whatever. But this is known to the system, and it's documented, it's in your data plane. So you can take a look at this, and you can see there's a lot of dependencies between these routers. But for those 3 red ones, there's no clear path between them. So we still don't know whether these are independent or dependent failures. So the next thing to do is to layer in what we call discovered dependencies. Now, using knowledge mining tools, you can discover these dependencies, maybe looking at the telemetry data coming in, or looking at failure patterns, or ticket-related data. There's many sources that you can mine for this. But here they show the 4 dependencies that were not officially cataloged in the network inventory database for any number of reasons. Okay, and here it clearly shows that top left cell site router is connected to the other 2 routers that we saw to begin with. And in fact, by doing this, we also see that there's 2 other routers that are probably in a data center somewhere that's also connected. So those discovered links help us link all of this together. And now it starts suggesting maybe there is a common root cause. Okay, and so we can take a comprehensive look of all the dependencies and try to reason over that. But we can also layer in knowledge, other type of knowledge, like diagnostic knowledge that you may, again, glean from either ticket data, past repairs, or other knowledge that can be harvested and mined. Now, with this diagnostic knowledge, you see the probable root cause, the key symptoms in the green triangles, and you see probable root cause as squares. Okay, and so this shows the symptoms that each of these routers are exhibiting. And I've blown up 2 of those symptoms on the right-hand side, just to illustrate what's going on. Now, if you look at the bottom symptom, it's network connectivity failure. It's being experienced by the 4 routers that are lower in the diagram. And that simply means that the link is down, but the router itself may be healthy. Now, if I look at the other diagnostic, the top one, I see there's a network chassis temperature failure. So now that suggests that router is impaired, and that's probably causing the link failure, and hence that is probably the root cause. Okay, and I can reason through that, by the way, not using an LLM, but using a graph algorithm. So you don't, which are much more predictable, I think, Hassan, to your point. And then if we continue down the journey, we can take this, we can take this and have an LLM, for example, generate a human readable summary so someone can verify it, or we can also give it to another AI. It could be an LLM or it could be another graph algorithm that would validate this so you can verify the results before you would automate it, which is going to be critical to have a high confidence in what in the recommendations of the AI. Okay. So in summary, AI with knowledge is smarter. It provides better reasoning because we can lay in various sources of knowledge. We can see the logical connections, or the AI can see logical connections and reason better. And because it's reasoning better, and perhaps you have more knowledge, you have improved accuracy. Okay. Also, you have the notion of collective intelligence through shared knowledge, i.e., when an AI learns something, or a human learns something, instead of keeping it in the brain or in the AI, you export it as knowledge. And so that means when one AI agent learns something, all AI agents and humans can benefit from that. And that creates, of course, virtual cycles of reinforcement learning between the AIs and between humans and AI. So you have that synergy between human and machine. The other thing is that you have persistent learning. If you train an AI, well, whatever it learns is usually black boxed inside. And if you ever replace that AI, or upgrade it, et cetera, you lose that learnings. Instead, if you export it to a knowledge graph, then that learning is persistent from one generation to the next. Okay. Also, knowledge makes AI more trustworthy, because you can have the AI explain its results using the knowledge graph. Once it does that, it becomes verifiable by independent AI agents or by humans. And also you can direct, especially LLMs, to restrict their answers to only what's supported by the knowledge given to them. And so that tremendously reduces hallucinations. So in a nutshell, knowledge is crucial to building trust and accuracy in AI. And so we see knowledge as more than an enabler, but an accelerator to your journey to level 4.
Thank you so much, Dale. This is I find this a really interesting. It's a new technology and a new way of thinking to me, and it's been so interesting to see some of the stuff that you've done and so forth. We have now got 4 more minutes left, and if anybody had one more question, maybe for Dale, please do put that in the Q&A. Otherwise, I shall wrap up. I have an excellent question from George about how do we justify investment and the key metrics for return on investment. But it's like, if I ask that now in 3 minutes, it's such a huge question. And George, my intention is, I have something that I've written that you might find interesting. I thought I'd send it to you on that kind of topic. So it's some of my work. So hopefully you will, I will send it to you after the call. So last chance, please, for anybody with a question. Otherwise, I shall say thank you very much and close the call.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, thanks.
No, that was really, really interesting, and I don't see anything immediately appearing. So I think I shall just take my time and say it's been really interesting. You'll have such interesting things to say on a really, really current topic. So it's been great to speak with you all. Thank you very much. And Giles, I don't know if you're planning to come in and say goodbye. So there he is.
No, I don't need to say anything. I think you guys have done a great job, and you're right about that, Charlotte. It's a fascinating topic and one that we'll continue talking about and exploring for the coming months. So thank you to the audience. Thank you again to all the panelists, and see you next time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you
Bye.
very much. Goodbye.